think about how we're hardwired and how we're coached and taught as a child, and then we lose that. So if we could bring some of that energy, some of that laughter, some of those concepts from our youth, right, into how we learn and engage and work in our careers now, what a wonderful thing that would be.
The academic Brian Sutton Smith said, the opposite of play is not work, it's depression. The opposite of play is depression. And there is a lot of depression in the workplace right now. So if the antidote is play, if the antidote is fun, then our guest this week, Pete Kusiak, has some ideas for how you can bring more fun into the workplace with his book, Drop the F-Bomb in Your Business, the Fun First Strategy. He gets into a bunch of stories about how he's helped businesses to increase the level of their fun in their organization, his own background of working with kids and how he translated that into creating a more playful environment, at first in his own businesses and now in other people's businesses. So this is a good one for any of you interested in injecting some more playfulness into your teams, into your own leadership. Let's dive in. And welcome to another episode of Being Human. I'm delighted to say I'm here with Pete Kusiak. He is the founder of the Fun First Strategy, and the author of this book, Drop the F-Bomb in Your Business. Pete, a very warm welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun. I've been looking forward to it.
Great. So first of all, tell us where you are in the world.
I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Right. And you're not actually in a pinball machine arcade, are you?
I'm not. That's my virtual background. I, just embodying some fun. Honestly, I love pinball though. So I thought, hey, that would be a pretty neat background.
Yeah, I love it. And did you grew up in North Carolina? Like, where are you from originally?
So I originally grew up in New Jersey, Northwest New Jersey, close to the Pocono Mountains, and then migrated down to North Carolina when I went to college. Did a small stint in Phoenix, Arizona, went to the desert for a little while, and then ultimately came back to North Carolina. Love it here. It's got everything: mountains, beach, 4 seasons. So this is where my wife and I wanted to open our businesses and raise our family. So we love it.
Right. And you've got entrepreneurship in your blood. Is that right?
Yes. I'm actually still own a franchise. I'm a franchisee and have had multiple businesses in my tenure. So yeah.
And how was your childhood? Was it a fun-filled childhood, or was it the opposite and you're reacting against it? Like, tell us about it.
No, childhood was great. I mean, we weren't wealthy by no means. So, a lot of things that I did growing up was, playing with my friends, right? Sports, music. I played in the band as a young child, we got a lot of love, a lot of nurturing from my family, but we were encouraged to get outside and play. So
okay, so you were an outdoors kid.
Yep, absolutely. Outdoors, sports. Love sports. I actually grew up playing tennis. I was lucky enough to play tennis in college as well. So enjoyed that. Like being active.
Right. And what did you do at college?
So I earned my degree in sport and exercise science. The original plan was I was going to be a physical education teacher, but once I graduated, I did a small stint where I taught high school, and I hated it. 9th through 12th, grades 9 through 12, and I quickly realized that it wasn't for me. So oddly enough, I made a transition to a franchise. I answered an ad in a newspaper. It said, "Do you like working with kids? Do you have a background in sports and karate? If so, call this number." This is back in the day when job ads were in the newspaper. I don't know. That's how old I am. So I called the number, and it was the Little Gym franchise. Little Gym is a motor skill development, gymnastics children's fitness franchise to build, self-esteem, confidence in kids. And I love it. I fell in love with it. Small kids, from infancy to 12 years. And they didn't talk back like the high schoolers did. Right. They, had their own personalities and things got, crazy, but it was silly and it was fun and it was entertaining. And I enjoyed it very, very much, to the point where um, I had made a name for myself in that organization. I was working for a franchisee who had owned that little gym, and made a name for myself and got offered a position at the franchise headquarters in Phoenix. That's when I did my small stint in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of what got me in this whole corporate franchising realm. That was my first kind of real corporate, if you will, job. And we had a great time there. I was still young and traveled all around the country, Mexico, Canada, helping train and mentor coach franchisees within that franchise. And then eventually moved into an operations role, which was like a business coach. And I was doing that for a few years before I got the itch to do it myself. I tell everybody, when you're around entrepreneurs, successful people, right, and
Yeah.
you're seeing success through that, it's easy to kind of get the desire to want to do it yourself. So that's what started my entrepreneurial journey. Actually, that's when we went and opened our first little gym ourselves.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
right. But
So
outside of this franchise,
yeah. Well, so it is the franchise, but it was my own, right? So I
okay.
started working for a franchisee, right?
Mm.
Went to work for the corporate headquarters.
Oh, and then got your own franchise.
And then got my own. Yeah. So I cut my teeth in entrepreneurial world in that franchise, so to speak. So, it was a no-brainer for us because I had fell in love with that program, fell in love with, everything about it. So it was just kind of seemed like the next step was to own my own. And then, my wife and I, actually, we opened 3 of them in a 5-year time span. So we were really highly invested in it and love it. And like I said, we still own one to this day here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're
and you still
all
you,
about it.
you still operational in that? Are you going into
No,
with the
no,
kids?
no. Unfortunately, I've kind of evolved as a business owner. When we started opening our second and third location, it was really hard to be in the operations, even though we loved it. We loved teaching.
Mm.
It was more about empowering our team and putting people in place, to manage and kind of, run those businesses for us, so that my wife and I, we could step back and do other things, open other businesses, really look at what the entrepreneurial dream was for us, and other goals. So we miss being in the day to day, but ultimately, I think we being a semi-absentee owner is really what we wanted to do to begin with. That's what it's all about, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. And having all that freedom.
Yeah. So, and that's what, enabled me to go work. I actually have worked for other brands in franchising, building operations, doing coaching and consulting, for the last, 15 years. So I've had some experiences, obviously, with a brand that I fell in love with, but then looking at other service-based industries, looking at other franchises, and being part of those processes has been really exciting for me too. So I've got to dabble in the franchising world for about 20 something years now.
So you're right. Okay. You're a veteran.
Yeah.
And then when did this idea come to you of the fun first strategy?
Yeah. So it was not too long ago, a couple of years ago, I started really reflecting on my time of business ownership, why we were successful, why we saw success, what were the things, what were the common things that we were seeing, and then obviously coaching and mentoring other business owners and their teams in different brands. Like what made somebody successful, right? Like there were a lot of people would ask, how did you get so successful, or how did you? First of all, I don't always feel like we were a success, but there's always more to do. But ultimately, on the outside looking in, you could perceive success there. But I just knew there was a common theme. And to me, after some reflection and running, I'm a big runner. I've done a lot of marathons. So I was running and I was like, the businesses that have the most fun are the ones that are the most successful. And it just, whether it be, a culture they've built, a quirky culture, whether it be the product that they're selling or the service that they're doing. If they were having fun with it, if they were enjoying, if there was liveliness in that organization, instant success almost. Because you could step in an organization, or at least I got to the point where I could step into a business, and within a few minutes, I could basically tell if it was on the up and up or the down and down just by the
Right.
vibe, the energy. And I don't know if you feel that too. Like you walk
Yeah.
into a restaurant here where I live, and it's like, okay, is this? We're not even being greeted. It doesn't seem to be any joy. There doesn't seem to be any pride in what they're doing. And we were talking about this earlier. It doesn't necessarily have to be fun, but at least take pride in what you're doing, and you understand there's a customer ready to do business with you. So you could typically tell, right? So I said, okay, so if I knew that there was fun could be a catalyst for success, how do we put that into
Right.
a tangible strategy, right? Because it could be polar opposite. It's like, yes, let's have more fun in business and we're going to be successful. A lot of eye rolls will probably come of
Right.
that. And what I find is with talking with folks is, they'll share, hey, we are a lot of fun. Our culture is all about fun. When we blank, 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 right? When we hit a goal, when we achieve a revenue, then we
Right.
go have fun. Like, that is an amazing start, right? It's a great start. I love to celebrate victories. But if there was a way to infuse that into your day to day, whether it be your operations, your customer service, right? The four walls, whatever it be, if we could infuse more fun, more life, more energy, more positivity, what would that do for your business? What would that do for you as a business owner? And what would it do for your people? Right. And that's where I kind of came up with the concepts and the themes in the book that, if you could just ask yourself the most important question, right? I call it the igniter question. Is whenever there's a challenge, or whenever you're thinking of an opportunity, or whenever you're, thinking of, how can I make this better, or how can I, whatever the case might be, right? How can I get more attendance in my weekly meeting? Right? How do I get people to stay awake on my virtual call, right? Is you should ask yourself, how can I make this fun? Right? That's the step. That's really what the fun first strategy is. It's just really simple, one step. How do I make this fun? And then if you need help, just go to my little playbook, right? And start pulling some things out, right? To make things more entertaining and fun. Because for me, it was about, infusing this energy, right? To have more workplace happiness, right? Because I could see that when folks got negative, challenges, people, all the things that come up in business ownership, it was hard to kind of pull them out of those situations. It's hard to pull them away from that, right? Because it's easy just to stay down and defeated. So it's like, no, we need to, inject some more life. And to me, wanted it to be tangible, wanted it to be actionable. So I put it in the book and threw it out there to the world. So
Right. Yeah, and it's full of a fantastic set of stories and examples. And I'm curious, when you first started going out to people and saying, "Hey, I've got this approach," what were the range of reactions to this?
To be honest, everyone is typically like, yeah, we need more fun. We need more
Right.
life in our business. It's like, yeah, hey, things get boring. So it's been very well perceived. And I think here, at least, in the US, right, we have a need for workplace happiness, like mental health awareness is huge, right? And I think that's in any working, right? I mean, it's huge, like especially our younger generations, right, that are coming in. Like, they value benefits, they value good pay, but they are looking for companies that are giving benefits with mental health perks, right? They want to feel supported that way because of the environment in which they've brought up, and on the technology is giving them information, and it's not always positive, right? If you can go figure, it's not always positive what they're getting exposures to. So for me, I felt like this is a good way to have a universal concept, because in my opinion, I think everybody likes to have fun, right?
Right.
And I know we were talking about this a little bit earlier. There's diverse perspectives of that, though, right? There's a wide range of what's fun. What's fun for me may not be fun for you, et cetera, et cetera. So, but there is a universal kind of desire. I think people, for the most part, enjoy having fun. It's just finding what that fun is. And I think that for the younger generations, they're looking for an experience at work, right, that supports their mental health, but they actually enjoy doing it too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great that you were getting a positive reaction. It sounds like across the board. Because I have to say,
Yeah.
behind that question, I was just imagining you know, going into, let's say, a law firm or a bank, and people. Well, hang on, you know, this is serious work, right? You know,
Yeah.
the fun is after work, but we've got serious business to do here. And
There
you
was
didn't have that.
oh, there was one. There was one. I'll be honest. Okay, there was one. So, medical field, I think, can be tricky. So, I have some colleagues, some friends that work in hospitals and stuff. You know, we're saving lives. We're you know, it's going to be hard to play games when we're saving a life, right? Like, no, I get that. I get that. I get that. I get that. But
But hang on, right? But really, because would there not be ways to incorporate fun in kind of any setting?
I
Isn't
think so. I really think so. I think if you know, when you have, I call them mandatory fun breaks, right? You read the book, so you know, like there's opportunities where, like, hey, listen, there are things in business, because when I do talk with folks, they're like, hey, we're still running a business. We still need to hit metrics. We still need to make money. We still need to, you know, set standards. I'm like, absolutely. You absolutely need to do that. I'm a business owner myself, right? Like I understand what it means to it's not all pie in the sky, but if there was ways to infuse fun into the day, or, you know, celebrate a victory, we talked about that, but, or take a mental health break, take
mm,
a mandatory fun break. And if you can create an environment where people can step away, whether that's in a break room or outside or whatever, be thinking about those things as, you know, a business owner or a corporation is like, how can I make this fun when they do get that moment of release from a high stress scenario, right? Can we still infuse these things in there? So, there are ways to do it. It may not be part of the job. Like, you know, when I was teaching kids, is what's more fun than teaching kids, right? I get that. I
yeah.
have a kind of perspective on that that's unique. Um, but I do know that there's opportunities within every job to infuse fun.
Right, and I suppose the fun break is one of those, right? Even if you're doing
Yeah.
very serious work, there will always be break times.
Yeah, and music plays a big role into things. I'm a huge proponent for music. If you are, you know, let's say if you accounting, to me, there's nothing more unsexy than accounting. But for some folks, that's fun. So hey, have at it, right? But like if when I'm buried in accounting, or if I'm trying to do some book, I've got to have music on. I've got to have some joy and things in my life as I'm doing a harder task.
Mm,
And that really helps me to get that accomplished. It may not be at the speed I want to accomplish it, but I certainly have some opportunities for me to, you know, find some joy in that work. Or, hey, when all else fails, maybe it could lead to some fun. Finish this task and we can lead to fun too, right? Like, so,
right,
which set tends to be a common thing folks are open to.
right. And so you start on this journey. Tell me then, who was the first client you got who bought in, and what did you do with them?
You know, honestly, I would say my own businesses were my first clients, right? Because I
Right.
had to, you know, we have at this point, it's my wife and I as an absentee owner, so I had to convince my staff, my team, that I wanted them to lead with a fun first mentality, and they're like, "What in the world are you talking about?" Because we made this big transition from, you know, reporting weekly and giving me the numbers and all, and I was like, you know, I can appreciate those things as a business and how it relates to raises and be hitting goals and all the fun, all those things that, you know, go into business. But where's the fun, right? So with our product, like I was saying before, it's teaching classes, right? These
Mm,
amazing classes. And you would think from the outside looking in, it's fun, and it is. But we employ a lot of kids, like
right.
high school to early college age, right? Small business. And, you know, their very first week of employment with us, they're sitting behind a computer learning. I was like, okay, it's great, but they're learning at school. They're stressing over tests and everything. So now we're giving them more information, more education, more, you know, things to study and learn and go do. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. How do we make this fun? So
Mm,
we started just like, hey, the product is what makes us different, get them into the classroom as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because, yes, there's a curriculum you follow. Yes, there's a rhyme and reason to everything we do. But at the end of the day, what's the most important thing is high fives from the kids, hugs from the kids. Parents are happy, right? And so we kind of made a shift. It was like, we don't need to bury you in studying your very first week. We need to get you integrated into our culture. We need to get you integrated into kind of really what we do, because then when it is time to learn and break things down, not only are we going to do that in a fun way, you already know, like you're already there. So that was a big shift for us. Right. And I find that even with some of the businesses I talk to and work with today, that's the case. It's like, I'll give you another example. So a lot of folks I chat with and work with are small business owners. Right.
Right.
So in small business, there's a lot of folks come to open small business that have experiences in larger corporations.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's really common for them to say, okay, well, I'm going to start hiring folks, have a need, and I'm going to write a job ad, and it's a beautiful job ad, and they put it out there. The problem is the folks that are applying for these jobs, all jobs, they're applying to small business, large corporation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're a small business and you're presenting yourself to the world as a large corporation, it's going to be hard to win sometimes. So I like to challenge my small business owners to say, embrace what makes you weird, unique, and silly. There's a lot of charm in small business. There's a lot of charm in small business. You need to own that, because that's what you need to push out, because you will get people to align with that charm, that quirkiness, whatever it is, whatever you have. And I would love for you to find fun and push that out. But honestly, if it's just a unique thing about it, that's what you need to, because you're going to be competing with a large corporate office and things like that. And so that's a lot of the folks I work with is just really trying to embrace what makes them different and the reason they maybe got out of a corporate mindset,
Right.
or a corporate environment.
Yeah. And so if you were to highlight a couple of examples of people implementing the fun first strategy, what would you bring out?
Yeah. So we were giggling earlier. One of my favorite stories, it's in the book, it was an HR professional, right? And that person had a background, worked at HR for a large corporation, and again was doing it as a small business owner now. I said, well, you don't seem to be having any fun, because they were like, well, I can't get anybody to show up to work or to show up to my interview. I can't get it. I was like, well, let me read the job ad, and I was like, this is boring. I'm like, who's applying? No wonder they're not showing up. Here's what you do. Why don't you put a different spin on this about how much fun your culture, because you've been making lots of strides in your culture, right? Lots of neat things are happening from just an environment perspective. When you get somebody on the phone and you're doing an interview or a screening, tell them you're going to meet at the local go-kart track, right? And you're going to do the interview there. And one, you're going to have a lot of fun, because you're pretty stressed out about this whole interview thing and why it's not working for you when it worked in the past. So it's like, just go have some fun, right? Go to it. And so long story short, the individual showed up, right? And, my client was like, this is amazing. I got to see how competitive they are, how they problem solve, risk take, some of the things that were really important in that job, or just because they went out and just had a good time. And so I think that's a really good example, is if you can open up a challenge with like, hey, listen, I'm kind of stuck here, I'm stuck in my traditional way of thinking about how this needs to be done. Just ask yourself, how can I make this fun, and go explore it? Because I think you're going to find, one, it's better for you, right? But it's going to be more enticing for people that want to come work for you as well. So this kind of a neat little story there. There was another one too, where we're having fun with customers. A lot of folks, if you read the book, which you have, that I talk about, like, customer interactions can be fun too. And, there was a convenience store was really struggling with COVID, right? And, gas prices and things like that, just people weren't weren't coming to the store. So they needed to make it a little bit more fun. They created a competition where customers would come in and sing songs. And if you sang a song, you got a couple, it was like a couple of dollars off your gas or something like that. Well, I mean, media picked it up. This was this amazing environment. It just created this little silly thing. And, people were really looking for some type of release, or like, hey,
Right,
I'm
especially
gonna,
at those
yeah,
times. Yeah.
I'm gonna pay for gas anyway. I might as well go have some fun, or see if I can sing the song. So it really just makes things a lot more creative when you kind of flip that switch in your brain. How can I make this fun? Right? You're gonna automatically go to that creative space, right? And I think that's what makes it work so well.
Right. Yeah. The other one I loved from the book I shared was the guy who turned himself into a DJ, right? The toy company.
Yeah, the DJ. So music, as I said, is super powerful, and if you can infuse some music into your environment, great. I mean, I know there's licensing and things like that, so you have to check the boxes, make sure you do things legit. But the meetings were so boring. He's like, well, I'm going to be the DJ this week, right? And I'm going to pick the songs, and then you get to learn what people like and what they don't like. Matter of fact, music has opened up other things for other organizations too, where, especially virtually, where they were talking about music, and found that most of the employees like this one particular band, right?
Okay.
And this, so what they did was, this band was touring all over the country. So as an incentive, right, for hard work, obviously they were playing music throughout their virtual meetings, throughout their, and it kind of was a neat little theme that they did to celebrate this. And they ended up buying tickets. The company did, for each employee to go see this band when they went and to their city that their people lived in. So, and they got to take pictures and say, "Oh, I'm here," and they went live on their, streaming and stuff like that. And it was just an amazing opportunity to have a team event virtually, and not a single one of them were with a colleague, but they
Right.
all got to experience this concert like 12 times, right? Because
Right.
so it was really cool.
Yeah. No. I love that. And and I'm curious about this idea of the mandatory fun break. So yeah, exactly how does that work, and how have you seen it implemented?
So the mandatory fun break, I think, one, it's good for your mental health, right? So if you are just working by yourself, or virtual remote environment, whatever the case might be, cubicle, um, and you have a break, do what you find is fun. A lot of times my kids are younger, like they're going to go play a game on their cell phone or something like that. But if you can create an environment where, like a game room in an office or something, where, it's a kind of a common meeting place where folks can come play board games or video games, or, whatever the case might be, whatever that common interest is, I think that it gives them an opportunity to escape for a few minutes. And I've had a little pushback over the years on these fun breaks, because a lot of, well, I'm not going to pay my employees to go have fun. I'm like, well, what does it cost you to attract, hire, retain a new employee, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to pay for a 15 or 30-minute dose of fun. That's a no-brainer to me. I'm doing it every day. Like, go have a little fun, then come back. You're going to be refreshed. You're going to be charged. I find too, even like going into a meeting, if you can start a meeting with a little bit of fun, the first 10, 15 minutes, whether it's a board game or music or things like we were talking about, I think that really opens up creative thought. It really
Yeah.
helps them to, enjoy the work a little bit more. But the mandatory fun breaks I think, are a really important piece. I know, like growing up, I worked at a grocery store, and I loved working at the grocery store. It was really neat. I worked in the frozen foods ice cream section. So I was like,
Yeah.
yes, this is great.
Yeah.
But on a 4-hour shift, we'd get a 15-minute break, right? So
Mm.
it was built into that. But the older I got, like, okay, well, now I'm a salaried employee. Like, when do I take these breaks? Like, it's you kind of have to take responsibility for that on your own. So I think, as an individual, it's important to say, hey, I need this time for me, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever the case it is. And I'm going to just go do something fun, go for a walk, a run, I know a lot of companies have gyms in their facilities now. Like it's great if somebody that, finds fun in exercise, go do it.
Mm, mm,
Right. But you, as the employer, you need to be promoting that. You need to be
right.
pushing that out. Like, hey, it is important to me that you take a mandatory fun break, even if it's just the 15 minutes a day. I want you to have that release for yourself. Right.
Right.
But here's the trick. And we didn't talk about this yet because we talked about diverse perspectives of fun. There's one really, really, really important thing to remember is that as an employer, you have to follow the rule of grandma. And it's a little silly, but I always say, if you wouldn't do it in front of grandma, don't do it at work. You don't want an HR nightmare because there's diverse perspectives of fun, right? So make sure you
Yeah.
keep it PG, right? keep it work friendly. So you want to make sure that, those are the things that you're pushing up because ultimately it is for healthiness, right? It is
Yeah.
for all the positive things that come with work. So when you're healthy, you're going to work well, you're going to be creative, you're going to reach goals, and it's going to be effortless.
Yeah. That makes sense. And the other question I had, and I shared this before we came on, was, and this has been my experience when I've done my own fun first strategies in organizations and led teams and attempted to bring fun things. There have been occasions where I've found people who have got what you could say, an off relationship with fun, right? Their
Mhm.
relationship with fun is for whatever reason in their background, and they just find it difficult to engage with some of an activity that everybody else might find fun, and it actually can cause them kind of more anxiety and actually be of detriment to their mental health because now they're thinking, oh well, everywhere else is everywhere, I kind of dealing with that type of profile of individual. How do you address that?
Yeah, so there's a lot that can kind of go into that, right?
Right.
And I would say one, like we've already talked about, there's diverse perspectives of fun,
Mm.
right? Two is if I've established this culture, I want to bring people in that I know can say adapt, or people that are willing to align with my brand of fun, because my
Mm.
brand of fun is going to be a little bit different than your brand of fun, right? i
Yeah,
like
yeah,
i
yeah,
like i like silly and quirky and things like that, but I can see how that would offer some anxieties to folks, right? Especially, and I've lived through it where people are like, oh, they came in for a week and were like, this is no, it's all right. We need to do one. We need to have more fun in our interview process and making sure we understand that the
right.
candidate
Yeah, so you build it
understands
right
all,
into your recruitment. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, understands our brand of fun. But two, the thing about this is, I think, for me, is that not be too quick to judge somebody's level of woohoo, right? Because I don't like to
Right.
dance.
Yeah.
I hate to dance, as a
Yeah.
matter of fact.
Yeah.
But I like to be in the room. I like to listen to the music. I like to see
Mm.
people having fun when they dance. But if part of your culture was that I had to dance, I'm gonna have anxiety around that, right? I'm like, ugh. But I like to
Yeah.
be in there. And I like to see other people having fun. That brings me joy as well. So don't always assume that somebody's not having fun, right? If in the book we talk about, don't rain on someone's fun parade, right? Things like
Mm.
that. Sometimes people have fun just by watching the parade move by. That's okay. That was a great experience. Pete, you didn't even dance. Did you have any fun? This is my wife, and she'll say, I had a blast. I enjoyed watching you guys do that. So
Right.
don't be quick to assume that somebody's not having a good time just by observing, right? And being part of that. But you also need to do a really good job in the front end of explaining what the culture is, the unique quirkiness. Then in the onboarding, talk about, what what the common interests are. Hey, this team really enjoys X, Y, or Z as part of our
Mm.
culture. Is that something that you can align with, or does that give you fears? Whatever the case, because I want to know. All right, because now, if you are ready to start this fun first strategy and you already have a team and you already have things going on and you don't want to, go small, start small, find common interests first, start there. Start with looking at what type of shoes everybody likes, the music. We brought that up, apparel, sports teams, whatever the case might be. See if there's a common interest that can kind of bring everybody together And then you can start to theme around that, whether it be a sports theme, if everybody's a basketball fan, right? Maybe they don't have to like the same team, but they like basketball. You could send morning motivational basketball, right?
Mm.
And then you could have a little competition, a sales competition or a customer service competition with a basketball theme to it. And then
Mm.
you go to a basketball game, right? That's like the F bomb in action. It's a total combination, right? You're kind of stacking fun upon fun and theming some things. So you could really ease into it that way with just hey, everybody seems to like basketball, right?
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you can send a survey out, questionnaire, things like that. In a meeting, you could have a fun game. There's in the icebreakers in the playbook. There's some really neat games you can play just to kind of get bacon. Bacon is a weird thing, but everybody loves bacon, right? So, have some fun with that, right? Hey, that's a common interest. We're going to theme our stuff around bacon. I don't know, but it's quirky, but you see what I
Unless you're
mean?
living in Saudi Arabia, right?
but you ease into it, right? Because and then you've established what that fun theme brand is, and you can bring people into that a little bit easier.
Yeah. 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 No, that makes.
I'm
Makes a
giving
lot
you
of.
all the tricks today.
Yeah. No, it's great. Uh, it's so simple and yet it's so powerful, right? And
Yeah,
it's about taking that step. And I guess for a lot of leaders who might be listening to this, there might be sort of this hesitation to make that first move, right? If they've been played it very straight down the line for their career, and now they've got that first session where they're like, "Okay, guys, I'm going to be a DJ for this bit." Like, how do you deal with people who are like at at the brink but aren't quite
yeah.
ready to kind of
So,
pull the trigger?
yeah, great question. They've all been great questions, by the way. So, but I like this one because for me, when I wrote the book, so I came, like I told you my business journey, right?
Mm,
I've read a lot of books on business and things to help, and they're wonderful. A lot of stuff's kind of getting outdated now, but it was a lot of, steps or rules or whatever apply. And for me, I said, when I write this, I want it to be easy and clean and simple, right? Because more people will be more inclined to adopt it. So I'd say to those leaders, I say, listen, you've tried everything else, right?
right.
What do you got to lose at this point, right? And you're going to have a little more fun along the way. It's a no brainer because and listen, if you already have success, great. You can ease
Mm,
into this, you can ease into this and just really create workplace happiness because you feel moved to do that for your people, right? And you understand
mm,
the new workforce that's coming in and what they're looking for, and you're looking to evolve. So I mean, that's a big piece of it there. So it's like, listen, if you're not adopting this now, you will be in 10 years because the workforce they're going to demand these types of things,
mm,
right?
mm,
In workplace happiness. So get on board now. But two, if you are having obstacles and you just really haven't been able to really break through that obstacle, and you've tried other things, you've tried other programs, you've tried other, reads, why wouldn't you try something that's a little bit more fun and light? Because you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain with just at least you have some tricks up your sleeve now. If all else fails, you got a few fun tricks to use, right? So I'd say, um, you know, it's at your pace, but as you're thinking about these things, if you don't adopt now, I promise you in 10 to 15 years, you're probably going to make some type of shift in providing more
right.
mental health things for your teams.
Yeah. Got it. Great. Well, fantastic. This has been it's been great, Pete.
Yeah,
What
thanks.
if anything, have we missed? Is there anything that you would have liked to have shared about creating fun in the workplace that you haven't touched on?
I think honestly we've hit a lot of things. I appreciate all the great questions. The book is out. Drop the F bomb in your business. It's got a playbook embedded in there. Yep. The playbook, PLAY, because it stands for Prioritize Laughter in Youth. I think that's just a really neat way to start on bringing some things in that maybe you haven't thought about. So you can't get
Yeah.
stuck. There's like 70, 80 different things in there that you can start to implement right away. So use it as a resource.
Yeah, and when you say prioritize laughter and youth, when I read that verse, I was like, well, hang on, what if you're not, if you're old? But I think what you really is youthfulness, isn't it? Right?
Yes. Yes, yeah. Yeah, remember your youthfulness, right? Try to, like, for me, I had, like we talked about, I had a really nice childhood. I got to use my imagination, go out and play with my friends, things like that. But, pull on some of those things, how you learned. One of the things
Mm.
that is interesting to me is, because I have got young kids, right? Is, I hear about their curriculum, and they sing at school, and they play games to learn and all those neat things. And then all of a sudden, as we get older, we lose some of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, we go into this, lecture style, woohoo, there's nothing boring to me than lecture style. So but as an auditory learner, maybe you love it. Hey, so I'm not going to say it's not the right way, but think about how we're hardwired and how we're coached and taught as a child, and then we lose that. So if we could bring some of that energy, some of that laughter, some of those concepts from our youth, right, into how we learn and engage and work in our careers now, what a wonderful thing that would be, right? How
Mm.
much easier could things be if we brought some of those elements in? It's gonna keep us more engaged. It's gonna keep us happy. It's gonna, like I said, flip on creative thought. All the healthy benefits of positive thinking. Yeah,
Brilliant. Yeah,
play
thank
your way to
you.
success. Yep.
Yeah. Touche. I love it. Well, Pete, thank you so much. Really enjoyed it. We'll drop a link to the book and to your site for people who want to learn more. Yeah, and go have fun.
Go
Go
have
be a
fun.
fun leader.
That's it.
Go drop some F bombs.
That's it. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. This has been great, Pete. Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thanks.